Hey, one more thing before you go. What if your near death experience at age 7 wasn't the end, but the beginning of a lifelong mission? What if the hero's journey we've all been taught left half the world behind? We're going to answer these questions and more in this week's episode of One More Thing Before You Go. I sit down with Peter Gunn. He's a U.S. Air Force veteran, a bodybuilder, coffee connoisseur, and a poet who's reinventing epic storytelling for a new generation. But this isn't just about verse and valor, it's about the rewriting of narrative. I'm your host, Michael Hurst. Welcome to One More Thing Before You Go. From surviving childhood obesity and a profound NDE to serve 20 years in the military, Peter's journey is anything but extraordinary. He became a father. He realized that the classic epics like the Iliad, the Beowulf, and Inferno had left the feminine out of the hero's journey. I can relate to that. I'm a father of 2 daughters, as we all know. So he created the Amazons, a lyrical saga that reimagines myth with women at the center, not the margins. In this poetic masterpiece, an elderly explorer shares a deathbed confession with his son decades ago. He discovered a hidden society of giant women in the Amazon jungle. His final wish for his son to return and deliver a letter to their queen. But what begins as a mission of honor quickly spirals into civil unrest and the threat of war between the Amazons and the human race. And we're going to talk about it all. Welcome to the show, Peter.
Thank you for having me, Michael. It's a pleasure to be here.
You've had an amazing journey in your life. I mean, there's so much to talk about from the NDE, which I think is like a profound opportunity for us to understand that there is something else in life that we can
Yes,
always try
definitely.
to achieve. Your challenges have brought you to a new, distinct journey in your lifetime that seems to me that you wanted to inspire, motivate, and educate people, and I appreciate that. So, again, thank you for being here.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.
I always like to start at the beginning. So, can I ask, where'd you grow up?
I'm from the Midwest, so I grew up in Wisconsin. This is the suburbs, basically, really.
Seminary. Got how was your family like? You have brothers, sisters?
I often akin my mother to, I often joke, I would say such things as if there was such a thing as a right wing, she'd be falling off of it. She is a very religious woman, very strong. Uh, and my father, so we say, put up with it.
Yes, yes, I understand that realm. Did you? I know you were in the military for 20 years. Had you wanted to be something else? Did you always want to go in the military?
Well, what I did was I did all three types. So I initially went into the Air National Guard and sort of just like dipping your foot into the pool before you jump in just to see what it's like. And I worked a little bit while I was there because I had to wait for a slot for boot camp to open up. And then once I went to boot camp, it was like a light went off in my head. It's like I loved it. Everything clicked, and I definitely thought to myself I could make this a career. So I decided to go active duty. Did 14 years of active duty, and then did the rest of the 20 out in the reserves, and then finally retired after 20 years of service.
That's great. What did you do in the military, may I ask?
Well, basically, civilian equivalent. You could think of me as an aircraft electrician. I fix the
Mm.
electrical systems, the electronics, and fighter jets.
Oh, very cool. Very cool. That's pretty slick. I didn't do anything that spectacular, but I enjoyed my time in the Army National Guard. But it also brought me to my career in law enforcement. So I know that we each have journeys in life that bring us to a certain point, and I think one significant aspect of yours might have been your near-death experience at 7 years old. Can we talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, yeah. Well, as a caveat, let me first say that my parents were good parents. Okay, because the early '80s, it was normal to leave your kids unattended. It's I want to say it was one of those suburbs where you're having a heat wave, and it was particularly hot, and I was given some chores to do. Uh, and while I was finishing, I remember feeling very tired. And when you're that age, you're very young, you don't recognize the signs, the symptoms of heat stroke coming on. So What do you do when you're a kid and you feel tired? You lay down, take a nap, and I did, and my body continued to cook, and I went into shock, and that's when my NDE started. The next thing I remembered after laying down was being out of my body. So everyone calls it your light body. The best way I could describe it would be as if you reversed a black and white picture, so you were made out of light, and I was transparent. I could see through myself. Then I remember traveling upward through a dark tunnel, but there was a circle of light at the end of it. When I came out, I was greeted by what I believed to be an angel and given a past life regression, or it showed you what you had done, or shall we say, done wrong, and things you could have done better in your past life. But it went very fast. It was almost as if time didn't exist anymore. It was almost at the snap of a finger, and it was done. Very short, very impromptu. Then I was brought to a gate, and I believe this to be the gate of heaven. I wasn't in heaven as of yet, and there was another figure there, another angel, and I immediately had a feeling of deja vu. Like, I know this person, I recognized him, but I couldn't picture or understand why I was having this feeling. But I recognized him, and he was quite upset with me being there. He said, "Your job isn't done. You have to go back." And then I remember waking up back in my body, paramedics hovering over me, and trying to figure out what just happened. Did I just dream this, or was this real? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's a profound experience within itself. I think did all aspects of it actually, especially at that age, and to recognize it and remember it like you did. Do you think that shaped your belief in purpose in life and in that you had a purpose?
It gave me discernment. It let me knew right away that there was more, because you know uh, I went through it in my head, must have been a million times, and I know it wasn't a dream. I know it wasn't
Right.
a dream. So there was a reason for it, and it gave me discernment. It gave me the ability to know right from wrong, so almost immediately. Um, honestly, it was a gift. It was a gift.
It was a gift. Yeah, I would imagine so. It would give you, well, like I said, at least in my opinion, I think it would give me the belief and the opportunity to understand that there's more to life,
Yeah,
and that there is something on the
yeah,
other side that we would have something to look forward to. So I think that would give me a sense of peace to a certain perspective and purpose, especially since you came back.
yes, definitely.
I know that you mentioned in it's on your website and some of the information that I'd gotten from you. As a kid, you battled obesity and served as an altar boy. Were there any contradictions or anything that you witnessed? How did that impact your worldview within itself? Did you grow up? I know that your mother was religious. Altar boys, you typically Catholic. I grew up Catholic, so I can understand that realm from that arena, and it did affect me to a certain perspective. How did that affect you?
Well, it allowed me to see the church for what it was. It was not only I consider it to be a box, or the religion that it was in was a box. You had to stay within the box and to be happy, a practicing Christian. But the second you questioned them or stepped out of the box, you were accused of heresy or something like that. And I'd often see the before mass, the priest drink the altar wine, and then he would allow the altar boys to have some. And there were numerous times we would go out there, all three of us, the two altar boys and the priest, we were drunk serving mass. So I mean, it was hypocrisy, and I saw it right away. Yeah,
Yeah, that the eye-opening experience of the Catholic Church in that regard. It changed my outlook as well. In fact, I'm not a practicing Catholic and I haven't been for quite some time because of a lot of that. But that's a whole different conversation. But it does affect
yeah,
us. It gives us again. It shapes us as we grow older. It shapes us where we are and how we fit into this world. I know that rising through the ranks in the Air Force. Your journey was marked by transition anyway, in regard to all of that. Do you think your service and the military helped you to strengthen your spirituality and how you approach life as a father, for example, in particular.
Well, it allowed me to be introduced to people from all over the world, all makes, all kinds, all colors, and it allowed me to see similarities in beliefs. You know,
Yeah.
and all people all around the world are exactly the same. You want to be left alone in peace, and to be allowed to live their lives. Not, just, and they don't want war. Really, no one wants it.
No, I agree with you. You have a daughter, correct?
Yes.
Did look when I have two daughters, and they're intelligent, beautiful young women. Now they're grown up, but it changed my life profoundly in regard to having two young daughters, enter my life from that perspective, and how I approached life, and how I wanted to, as a father, to make sure that my daughters were strong and intelligent and self-sufficient and empowered to believe in themselves. Do you think that how did you approach that? I mean, I know that you're writing what you're writing is going to empower young women. How do you come about saying, "Hey, I want to write this because I think I should empower my daughter and others"?
Well, I took it sort of an amalgamation of all the women I served with in the military in my 20 years, and formed it into a lot of the characters in the Amazon. So, especially the stronger ones, the ones that had positive traits, and even some of the ones that had not so positive traits, to show the difference, to teach them, what they should and should not be doing. But I would say there was just one thing or one person, but it was important to me to show both sides of the story and how they're going to not only encounter evil but bad people as well, and how to counteract that.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think I did that especially in law enforcement. I got to see the people at their worst and the best people at their worst in a multitude of conditions in regard to, I worked domestic violence for 4 years, a task force for 4 years in specific. And, in watching the dynamics of dysfunctional families and watching the dynamics of how women and girls are treated and were treated and still continue to be treated, it really empowered me to change the outlook on that by making sure that I do everything I can to help empower women and young ladies to understand that they are important and that they are an integral part of society that deserve everything. You know what I mean?
Well, where women go, their choices, they shape the world. They don't seem to
Yeah,
see that. But men, if they turn men down, men will change. And they need to understand that they have that power to change the world.
absolutely, absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. I know. Can I touch upon a little bit, get a little personal? I know you're a bodybuilder and a coffee connoisseur. I'd like to touch a little bit on that. But did the Air Force get you into your physical and emotional resilience? Is that how'd you get into bodybuilding?
Well, that goes back to my battle with childhood obesity. And it was when I was about 12. I'm only 5'3", so I'm not the tallest guy, but I
Mm,
was about 230 pounds at that time. So I was quite big. And the doctor told me that I might not live past 30 if I don't do something about it.
right.
And I decided to start taking it off. And I got into bodybuilding and started walking to a gym when I was 16 and just fell in love with it. It's been a part of my life even before the military. And I
Uh,
found it made the transition into the military, the discipline wasn't difficult for me. It was just easy to adopt. Yeah, like
yeah.
water off a frog's butt. It just
Yeah.
it was easy.
Yeah, I think it gives us. I love the word, as you can tell, I love the word of opportunity. We all have an opportunity, and I think opportunities that are presented to us in our journey in life are positive things. Even the negative ones are positive things because they're stepping stones to learning, and stepping stones to improving ourselves in many different ways. When you started going writing, when did you decide to become an author and to write what you're writing now? Did it come from spiritual exploration, your Gnostic philosophies, Anything along that line? How did you become an author in this material in particular?
Well, I want my daughter to be exposed to the classics, but you can't help but wonder, why would a young girl want to read the Odyssey other than being inside to her in school? Why would a young girl want to read Dante's Inferno or Beowulf, where, like in Beowulf, I think the female is a demon or dragon. So I mean, it's not very, shall we say, empowering for them at all, and it's not favorable. So I decided to not only invent my own form of poetry, LLP, linked lyrical poetry, in order to put it in a form that they could understand, but then to write the Amazons in that form to give them something that they could be proud of, and something that they can understand and put on their shelves and show to their daughters in the future.
I think you're kind of rewriting the hero's journey. Obviously, we have Wonder Woman, and Wonder
Yeah.
Woman is we have Supergirl, um, but in the Fantastic. And forgive me, audience, for this. The Fantastic Four has got a female hero in there as well. I'm not like a big fan of the Fantastic Four, so I haven't really watched it very much. But I do know that they have a female hero. I think that we as a parent, we as an individual, we as a man, we as a human being, I think your opportunity to rewrite the hero's journey and show that, like, your daughter can fall in love with the great epics, um,
Mhm.
but also understand that she can create her own.
Yeah. There's one thing that once you start understanding the hero's journey, it comes full circle, but it never ends because it
Yeah.
continues again and it continues again. It never stops.
How did you pick or why did you pick the Amazons? Can I ask?
Well, I was doing a lot of research, as any author does, about when they're going to write a book, and I kept coming upon a common theme. And there are actually a lot of stuff I had to investigate that so to say certain agencies didn't want out,
Right.
and um, there was a common theme of the Amazons, not only in the Amazon in South America, but there were also proof of them being in ancient China and in Africa. So it wasn't just one tribe. And then honestly, in my feelings, it actually they actually did exist. The Amazon jungle is so thick, so dense. They have to admit there could be a city there, and they would never know it.
Well, in
They
reality,
actually came across some bones that were about 10 feet tall as well, that were female in South America, that the Smithsonian tried to, shall we say, put under wraps too as well. So
yeah.
that's where one of the keys where the stories came from.
Well, and in reality, I mean, I appreciate you telling us that, or educating us in that regard, because I do know that even today they are still finding and discovering lost
Yes.
tribes that are deep within the Amazon that have
Yeah.
never seen the
Hmm.
21st century, in any form. They're so far deep in the Amazon, which I find very unique, actually, that they've survived that long. The Amazon um, aspect of it. I know it depicts feminine power. Wonder Woman's an Amazon, right? She's an Amazonian.
Both of it, yes. Yeah.
So in the Amazon aspect of depicting feminine power, do they do it as an accessory, or is it central to their theme in your research? Have you found that they've always been elevated to that point?
Well, later on in the trilogy, I would say about the third book. I'm still working on finishing the second book, but you will see how it came to be, and it actually comes from the, so you say, abuse of men. And it's quite tragic, but it's one of those things where there was a positive thing that came from it at least. But I feel that I use the Amazons to, yes, Wonder Woman is an Amazon, but I wanted to reinvent it. I was never really happy with it. Even the movie that they came out with, they depicted the Amazons as so weak. Like a single bullet could take them down. So when you compare that to Superman, there's no comparison. So I wanted to lift it above that level of something a young girl could look up to. But then I also wanted to bring in the human race and show a synergy between the male and the masculine, the feminine. When they get together, there's a synergy that comes in. There's a power that comes from it.
Now, you didn't just write a story; you composed a lyrical universe, kind of in
Yeah.
regard to this. Is this a new kind style of write? Let me try that in English. Is this a new style of writing? How did you come about in why did you choose this style to present your story?
Well, T.S. Eliot said in his book Poets and Poetry that the poem or the reader should interpret it as to that day, whereas I could speak in poetry, this is what it would sound like. Now you look at Dante's Inferno. No, that's back in the 1500s. If you look at Shakespeare, that's that's why they don't understand it, because it's using terms and lyrics that they don't understand. So why would a young girl or a younger person want to read that? That's why I came up with LLP, because not only does it keep the poetic format, but it also, in a lot of ways, people tell me it sounds like rap. It's an unending rhyme. It's basically a 46,000 word poem that rhymes from beginning to end. And it's easily understood by the younger generation. So Gen Z and the new Gen Alpha.
Sort of like Lin Manuel doing a new version of Hamilton,
Hmm.
and which has been resonated. It resonates with people, especially young people, in such a
Yes.
way that now there's more and more coming out. Even in on TV, what you see is a lot more of that type of conversation or that type of presentation from a creative perspective. The first thing I thought about was rap,
Hmm.
and
Yes.
Lin Manuel did it so well in Hamilton that you kind of, I think we kind of come to expect it to a point. Why didn't you choose maybe like a comic book? I know that the cover resembles a comic book,
Well, I've always felt comic art in and of itself. I've always loved it.
right?
I love comics, grew up on them, and nothing better demonstrates the hero's journey
Yeah.
as comic art. It's basically a part and parcel of it, really. Every comic has a hero's journey in it, just about.
Did you grow up reading comics? Did that influence you
Yes,
in any
yes,
way?
very much so. Yeah, very much so. And one of the reasons also why I got into bodybuilding is because I wanted to look like the comic book characters.
Yeah, they're all. I have to laugh because yeah, they're always like well built,
Yeah.
and you kind of go, yeah, I don't look like that. uh, for listeners unfamiliar with like epic poetry and our viewers, what makes the Amazons accessible and I guess essential from that perspective?
Well, it's going to allow young girls and creative writers to expand their knowledge. If they decide to actually sit down and read it, they'll see not only does it rhyme, but it also might pique their curiosity as to whether or not they could start doing it. And
Right.
I have started doing teaching classes here locally. I might expand on the internet. We'll have to see how that goes. In writing an LLP, it's very time consuming to do it. You have to
Yeah.
understand that. Publishers will shy away from it when I tell them that it'll sometimes take an hour to write a paragraph. And then people look at you like you're crazy. Like, how did you write this? And if it takes so long, and it's just one word at a time, one step at a time. It took me 2 years to write it, and maybe a little bit over. And it's time consuming. But if you're dedicated, you keep
Yeah.
biting away at it little by little, you'll finish the book.
Well, I think yeah, I mean, you're creating a legacy, not just for your daughter, but for
Yeah.
anyone else seeking, kind of solace. And let's face it, this world is in chaos. It's a little fractured at the moment. And, you know, this gives you an opportunity to understand maybe you can come out of it on a positive note with strength and
People
fortitude.
people understand and they recognize craftsmanship when they see it.
Yeah.
You take an old antique, that you might be off of the corner, and they might think it's the ugliest thing in the world. But what's the first thing they're doing when they're walking up to it? They're looking at it, they're critiquing it, they're looking at the craftsmanship, they're taking the drawers out, looking at the dovetail joinery. They recognize it as something they couldn't do themselves, and they admire it because not only is that sort of craftsmanship gone, but they could reproduce it themselves. And that's one thing I'm trying to bring back with the Amazons and LLP is craftsmanship into writing, doing something that it isn't easily done, but you could do yourself if possibly if you have the dedication to do it.
Do you do your own artwork?
I would say I did about 25% of the artwork. I did rough sketches with the Amazons. I have a team of artists that I work with that finish off everything. One thing that if you're going to become an entrepreneur, you have to recognize that you can't do everything yourself.
Yeah.
So I've had to hire out and have a great team behind me that supports me and all my various projects.
Yeah, I've gone that route before where I thought I could just do everything. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Sometimes we have to recognize that we always need a little help in life, in general, not just in writing a book.
Well, as an entrepreneur, you're basically in charge of running a business. So think of yourself as a CEO. If you don't, even if you don't have the official title, so how much is your per hour rate worth when you're at that position? You
Exactly.
know, when
Yeah.
you need to think about how much you really paying yourself. When is it worth it? You know? Yeah.
Well, you mentioned earlier that this is going to be a trilogy. So tell me about the trilogy, or tell us about the trilogy. Let me rephrase that.
Well, I had some setbacks in the second book, so it's going to take longer to write. But that is LLP, and that's what happens. But I'm sure every writer had that where they put out 100 pages and then all of a sudden they had to throw it in the trash can. It happens in writing, and it will continue to happen. But basically, what it will do is it'll have them go to different parts of the world, searching for the first Amazon, and eventually they will find her. And it's quite an epic journey getting there, though. Trust me, it's there's a lot of twists and turns and a lot of new, unexpected characters along the way that I bring, especially into the second book.
In your you said you did research earlier, and I'm sure that had to be fascinating within itself in doing the research for this particular trilogy, including the Amazonian portion of it, and finding the bones. You piqued my interest. I'm going to go look it up as soon as we're
Yeah.
done here. I'm going to go look it up because I think that's fascinating. I know that mainstream and society itself doesn't want to admit that there were giants, but I have seen other stories and other archaeological finds where they have found individuals that weren't just basketball height, but you know, taller. Um, what got you started, and where did you do your research for this?
Well, what really got me started was coming across a pilot that I had helped out a long time ago while I was serving, and then he let me in on a story that he'll rename nameless, but there was actually giant bones that they had shipped in from Afghanistan, and he swore to me left and right on his mother's grave that they had giant bones, a giant dead body from Afghanistan, and they were shipping into America at an undisclosed location. And that's one of the things that started my interest in doing my research is like, well, okay, if this is legit, what else is legit? And it's a deep dark rabbit hole that you might go down. So be prepared.
It amazes me. It's like there, what to me that would be an archaeological find that would be significant to the history of our mankind and our world. It kind of uh, perplexes me a little bit to say why would you withhold that information from us? I guess. Um, do you think that uh, we have the opportunity to? I mean, you and in yourself, you said you're going to do more research. I'm assuming. Do you think you have opportunity to actually be able to delve deep enough to find a factual basis on your own?
If you talk to enough people, network enough, and say your daily prayers, so he knows where he's guiding you and where you need to be guided.
Yeah,
Yes, it eventually will come to you. There's no doubt in my mind. Your path will show its way. Oh, it always does.
from that perspective. When do you propose? Is the first book out?
Yes.
Where can we get it?
You can get it at Amazon Kindle and just type in Peter Gunn the Amazons, or you could go to the link my website at www.petergunn.net.
And there's a couple of things. I put up two covers up there. Is the second cover the second book?
No, the second cover is for a children's story, more or less. It's not written in full LLP. There is poetic prose, is an introduction to very young girls to poetry, and what it is, it's about a young girl that should we say HDT falls in love with, and he tries to marry her, but fool her and lie to her father. So it also is based off of ancient South American folklore. So there again, I would, because by doing the research for the Amazons, I came across a lot of their ancient folklore as well, and I found that quite interesting. So I decided to write the Crappie's Curse as well.
So is that written in the same style, the lyrical style?
No, no, no. It's very loose based poetic prose, so it's easy to read. It's for basically it's a children's book that parent could feel safe about giving the child and letting them read it to them, or just listening to the audiobook, and they could go away and do other things. Because like in the Amazons, in stanza one of the first chapter, there's so we say an involvement between
Right.
the Jack Senior and the Amazon lovers. So if it's more for young adults.
From that perspective, had you always? Think of all these questions as we go forward, and all these other things keep popping in my head. Had you been introduced to poetry at a young age, where you fell in love with the poetic style, or did
Yes, I
that come
always
in
loved
later?
poetry. That was well written. There's a lot that I feel is actually like it hurts to read, like it doesn't rhyme, and it you're trying to understand where the mind of the poet was. It's hard to understand, and I always looked at music as well, though. And
Yeah,
I remember as a young kid in the '80s looking at remember the old '80s band Whitesnake.
yeah.
David Coverdale, the singer. I looked at a lot of the songs that you open up the CD case, and I realized that it's a poem. I never put two and two together, but basically he had written a poem and turned it into a song, and it's one of the reasons why I'm actually doing that as well now. I'm a guitarist and I joined a band, and we're actually producing our first album as well.
Well, congratulations on that. That's very cool. Yeah, my wife will be. I would tell my wife you mentioned Whitesnake because she was a huge Whitesnake fan,
Yes,
and sometimes those bands get lost because they kind of fade away a little bit. So she'll be happy that you mentioned
I
that.
would honestly say I was more had more of an impression from David Coverdale and Whitesnake than any other poet.
Well, this works. This works. And of course, obviously, I think that presenting what you're presenting in this methodology is going to resonate with young people a lot more than just look. I'm an old guy. Yes, I don't physically read a book anymore because it is monotonous to try to hold a book up, to read this book, to turn page to page to page to page. So I went to audiobooks. And, in listening to audiobooks, it helps me get a better understanding of the story that I'm listening to because I don't have to worry about the mundane stuff. Your approach, I think, is a unique opportunity for them to walk away with not only listening to it, experiencing it, but maybe walk away singing it.
Yeah, and I guarantee they're going to increase their vocabulary as well.
Very cool. That's what we need to do. So once again,
Yeah.
let's tell everybody where we can get a hold of your book and your upcoming stuff that's going to be out. And you have a website.
Yeah, you can go to www.petergunn.net or go to Amazon Kindle and type in Peter Gunn the Amazons, and my book should come up.
And it's Gunn.
Yeah.
So,
And we're also in the process of redoing the audiobook as well. I've hired about 30 voice actors, and we're revamping the whole thing. So it's going to sound like a Hollywood movie.
oh, that's cool. You're going to do not just one voice. You're going to like a play, like the old
Yeah.
radio plays.
Yes.
Uh,
Yeah. Sound effects and everything. Yeah.
that should be really fun. That would be fun. That'd be fun. Well, when that comes out, you have to let me know. I'll make sure there's a link in the webpage that's built for this show. I'll make sure there's a link in there for people to go to that as well. Um, Peter, thank you very much for sharing your journey with us and our time. Thank you very much for your experience in the Air Force and what you've contributed to the safety and the well-being and protecting and serving, and for being a great father and creating a legacy for your daughter and other young women out there. So thank you for being here.
Thank you for allowing me to be here, Michael. It's a pleasure.
This is one more thing before you go. Any words of wisdom for an up-and-coming author?
Never give up. You know that old joke about how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. So just take one daily bite at a time.
Great. That's profound. Profound, brilliant words of wisdom. Peter, again, thank you very much for sharing your journey with me. I really appreciate that. That's a wrap for today's episode. I hope you all found it inspiration, motivational, and a new perspective take with you. If you enjoyed this conversation, be sure to like, subscribe, and follow us. It really helps us continue bringing you incredible stories and insights like Peter's journey and what he brings to us. And if you want to watch this episode, head over to YouTube and catch the full version. We'd love to hear from you. If you have any questions, show ideas, or want to contribute to this particular show, reach out and we will connect. And one more thing before you all go, have a great day, have a great week, and thank you for being part of One More Thing Before You Go.
Thanks for listening to this episode of One More Thing Before You Go. Check out our website at beforeyougopodcast.com. You can find us as well as subscribe to the program and rate us on your favorite podcast listening platform.